Hello, my dear family. Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from tonight. I love seeing all of you gathered from every corner of the world. Now, settle in, dim your lights, and let's begin our new mystery. Chapter 1, The Ring That Shouldn't Be Found. It had been 10 years since my husband, Daniel, vanished. 10 years since the sheriff knocked on my door with his hat in his hands, saying, "We found his truck, but not him." 10 years since I folded his clothes into boxes I could never throw away. 10 years since our daughter, Emily, stopped asking when Daddy was coming home. I had rebuilt my life in pieces, quiet, slow, broken pieces, until the morning Sarah, our neighbor's teenage daughter, showed up on my porch, shaking. I remember the look on her face vividly, not fear, but something worse. Confusion mixed with dread. She held out her hand, and resting in her palm was Daniel's wedding ring. My throat closed. The world tilted. For a moment, I couldn't speak. "It was in your barn," she whispered. "I swear I didn't touch anything else." The ring that shouldn't exist. I took the ring from her hand. It was cold, freezing cold, as if someone had kept it buried under snow. But it wasn't the cold that terrified me. It was the damage. The ring was bent, scraped along the edges, as if it had been dragged across something rough, concrete, stone, or nails. Daniel had never taken it off. Not once. Even on the day he vanished, he was still wearing it. I knew because I saw it when he kissed me goodbye that morning. So how did it end up in a barn no one had entered in years? I turned it over. Inside the band, where our wedding date was engraved, someone had scratched a new mark. A small, uneven line, almost like a tally mark. One single mark. It wasn't there before. I would have known. Sarah spoke again, voice trembling. It was on the floor, right under the loft ladder. Like someone dropped it recently. Recently. The barn had been locked for 8 years. The barn we stopped using. After Daniel disappeared, I couldn't bear to go inside that barn. It was supposed to be a place for building and fixing things, our dream workshop. He had plans to restore old farm tools, maybe even teach Emily how to sandwood. But once he was gone, the barn stood silent, like a grave. I locked it and tried to forget it. But Sarah had seen the side door cracked open the night before. She assumed maybe I left it that way. I hadn't. And when she stepped inside, she said the air felt wrong. Cold. Wet. Like someone had been there recently, maybe even that morning. She said she called out, just in case it was me. No answer. Then she looked down and saw the ring. The weight of memory. I walked to the barn alone that same afternoon. Even from a distance, the building felt heavy, like it had soaked up 10 years of secrets. Wild vines clung to the wooden siding. The windows were fogged with dust. The roof sagged, slightly in the middle, holding on but tired. I pushed open the side door. It creaked, not the sound of old hinges, but the sound of a door that had been opened more than once recently. Inside, the air was stale, cold, still. Dust hung like fog in the light, slicing through the cracks. But then something caught my eye. Footprints. Fresh ones. Not boots. Not children's shoes. Bare feet. Large. Slanted. As if the person was limping. And the prints led directly to the ladder Sarah mentioned. The loft. The ladder was old, but sturdy. Daniel built it himself. I climbed slowly, trying not to breathe too loudly. At the top, the loft was exactly as we left it 10 years ago. Boxes, blankets, old tools, jars, ropes. Except for one thing. A square section of hay had been cleared. Someone had been lying there. Recently. I froze. There on the hay was something else. Something small. Something shining. Not metal. Not glass. A button. Dark blue. Familiar. My heart nearly stopped. It belonged to Daniel's favorite winter coat. The one he was wearing the day he disappeared. I remembered sewing that button on myself. My hands started to shake. Was he here? Was he alive? Had he come back? Why wouldn't he tell me? Why leave his ring, but not himself? I climbed back down the ladder, nearly missing a rung. My mind raced. If Daniel had returned, why hide in the barn? Why not knock on the door? Why leave clues like a ghost trying to speak? Unless, and the thought chilled me, it wasn't him. Something brushed the back of my neck. A whisper of cold air. I spun around. No one. But I heard something. Not footsteps. Not breathing. A drip. Slow. Steady. From the corner of the barn. I turned toward the sound. And that was when I saw it. A shape. A shadow. Pressed into the wall, like someone had been standing there for hours, watching me. The moment I realized the truth wasn't buried, it was waiting. The shadow was faint, but unmistakable. Broad shoulders, a tilted head, long arms hanging low. Daniel's silhouette, exactly as I remembered him. My breath caught, my knees buckled. I stepped forward instinctively, but as I moved, the shadow did not move with me. It stayed on the wall, fixed, not a real person, not a trick of the light. A stain, a mark, a sign. Right below it, on the floor, the dust was disturbed, as if someone had stood there for a long time, watching the ladder, watching me. I backed away slowly, clutching the wedding ring so tightly it cut into my palm. Someone had been here. Someone knew this barn. Someone was leaving clues. Daniel? A stranger? Someone pretending to be him? Or someone who wanted me to believe he had returned? The ring, the button, the footprints, the shadow-shaped stain, 10 years of silence, and then signs all at once. I locked the barn door behind me, but the cold followed me home. That night, I placed the wedding ring on my table. And long after midnight, when the world was quiet, I heard something slide under my front door. A piece of paper, a note, just 6 words. You weren't supposed to find that. And the handwriting was Daniel's. Chapter 2, The Footsteps That Weren't His. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The wedding ring sat on the kitchen table like a silent accusation. And the note, those 6 words written in handwriting that should not exist, lay beside it. You weren't supposed to find that. I must have read it 100 times. The loops, the slant, the pressure of the pen. It was Daniel's writing. I would have sworn it under oath. But there was one problem. Daniel hadn't written anything in 10 years. Daniel wasn't here. Daniel wasn't supposed to be alive. The clock ticked toward 3 a.m. My house felt too still, too aware, like it was holding its breath. Then, a sound. Not loud, not violent, just soft, deliberate footsteps. Outside, along the gravel path leading toward the barn. Slow, measured, dragging slightly, the same way the footprints inside the barn had looked. I stood frozen in the dark kitchen, every nerve in my body tightening. Someone was outside, and they were moving toward the barn. I slipped quietly to the window and pulled the curtain just a fraction of an inch. The moonlight was weak that night, thin and milky, but enough to see a shape, a figure, tall, slow, barefoot in winter. My lungs refused to work. The figure wasn't walking normally. One foot was straight, the other turned inward. The exact gait Daniel had after his old knee injury. For a moment, I felt the world tilt, my vision blur with hope and horror tangled together. Could it be him? Walking like he used to? Coming back to finish what he started? But something was wrong. If that was Daniel, why didn't he come to the door? Why walk like a shadow? And why hide? The figure reached the barn door, stopped, then slowly, very slowly, It turned its head toward my house. I ducked instinctively, heart pounding so hard my ears rang. When I lifted the curtain again, the figure was gone, not walking away, not slipping into the trees, just gone, like it had dissolved into the night. The barn the next morning. I waited until the sun rose before stepping outside. Every instinct warned me not to go near the barn again, but fear was nothing compared to the need for answers. The ground outside the barn was muddy from melted frost. That meant footprints. But what I found was worse than footprints. There were two sets. One was the bare, dragging pattern I had already seen. The other was boot prints, large, fresh, facing the barn door. Someone wearing boots had walked up to the barn during the night and then walked away again. Two people, one barefoot, one not, and neither had knocked on my door. I pushed the barn door open. The interior was quiet, still, but something had changed. The cleared patch of hay, where someone had been lying the day before, it was gone, ruffled, covered over, as if someone had tried to erase the evidence. Something else had moved too. The ladder. It was no longer upright. It was laying against the floor, like someone had pushed it over, whether to hide something or to prevent someone from climbing up again. I didn't know, but on the lowest rung of the fallen ladder, I saw dirt, dark dirt, wet, not from the barn, from outside, from the woods. Someone had climbed that ladder after Sarah found the ring. Someone had climbed it and watched. The woods behind the barn. I followed the trail of footprints behind the barn. The barefoot ones were shaky at first, unclear, messy, staggering. The boot prints were precise, purposeful. They both led into the woods. The deeper I walked, the quieter the forest became, as if even the birds refused to acknowledge what was coming. Twigs snapped under my shoes. Every few steps, I found another print, another sign of stumbling, another reminder that someone had wandered these trees in pain. And then I reached a clearing, a strange, unsettling clearing. The ground was disturbed, leaves scattered, dirt shifted, and in the center, half buried beneath a rotten piece of plywood, I found something I hadn't expected, a second button, dark blue, identical to the one from Daniel's coat. I picked it up with trembling fingers. If Daniel had been here, why did he leave pieces of himself behind like breadcrumbs? Why hide? Why watch? Why leave a note telling me I wasn't supposed to find anything? Unless he wasn't the one leaving them. Unless someone else was taking parts of his belongings, things only he had owned, and planting them, leading me, pulling me. Why? My breath froze as another thought struck me. What if Daniel never left the woods that night 10 years ago? What if someone else had taken him, used his things, kept them, and now, after 10 silent years, why return them? Why now? My head spun. The forest suddenly felt too narrow, too close, like the trees were listening. Then I heard it. A voice. Soft, distant, calling my name. Not shouted, not desperate, just spoken. Quietly, almost the way Daniel used to say it when he wanted me to come closer. I turned. No one. The forest was empty, but the voice had come from the direction of the barn, the return to the house. When I reached my porch again, my hands were shaking so badly that the key rattled in the lock. I shut the door behind me, leaned back against it, and forced myself to breathe. Everything in my home felt foreign after the woods. The walls too bright, the heater too warm, the silence too unnatural. The wedding ring sat exactly where I left it on the table. The note too. But now, something else was there. A small fold of paper, placed gently beside the ring. My blood turned to ice. I hadn't left it there. and I hadn't heard the door open. I lifted the note with trembling fingers. Inside were just 3 words. Don't go back. The handwriting wasn't Daniel's this time. It was someone else's. Someone who had been inside my house while I was searching the woods. Somebody who didn't want me to return to the barn, or the clearing, or the truth buried between both. Someone who walked in boots. Someone who watched. Someone who knew I had found the second button, and they wanted the search to stop. But it was already too late, because now I needed to know, was Daniel alive, dead, or was someone using the pieces of his life to lead me somewhere I wasn't supposed to go? Either way, the real investigation had just begun. Chapter 3. The name she shouldn't have heard. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a moment. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the ring again, mud-stained, cold, unmistakably my husband's wedding band, the one that vanished with him 10 years ago. I kept replaying Sarah's trembling voice. I heard someone say his name in the barn, but no one else was there. Her words dug into me deeper each hour. By dawn, the air in the house felt too still, like the walls themselves were listening. I paced the living room, glancing at the clock every few minutes. Sarah said she'd come by in the morning so we could talk more about last night. But at 7:14 a.m., before she even knocked, I heard something, my husband's name, whispered, faint, from outside. A cold ripple rolled across my skin. I forced myself to open the front door. It was only the wind, or at least that's what I told myself. Sarah arrives, and she's not alone. When Sarah finally came up the path, she wasn't walking alone. Next to her was a man, gray jacket, hood up, head low. Before I could ask, Sarah called out, "Don't worry, this is Mark. He lives near our farm. He knows about the ring." Mark lifted his head slightly. His eyes were dark, tired, watching me like someone checking the ground before taking a step. He spoke quietly. "You should hear what we found this morning." I froze. Sarah stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Someone went into the barn last night. After I left." My chest tightened. "Went inside? Who?" She shook her head. "We don't know, but something was moved." Mark pulled something from his jacket pocket, a small wooden tag, dirty, cracked, covered in dust. He handed it to me carefully, as if afraid it might break. My breath caught. It was the missing piece of a keychain, my husband's keychain, the one he kept clipped to his belt every day, the one he had the night he disappeared. I felt my knees weaken. Where did you find this?" Sarah swallowed. "Inside the barn, on the second floor, right where I heard the voice say his name." A sharp chill crawled up my spine. The second floor, the place nobody goes. The barn had always had a second level, but no one used it. The boards were warped, nails sticking up, the floor one step from collapsing. Even animals avoided it. Someone was up there. I whispered. Mark looked me straight in the eyes. Someone or something was waiting. I shook my head, trying to push away the thought forming in my mind. "No, my husband wouldn't have." Mark cut me off gently. "Ma'am, we also found footprints." "Footprints?" I repeated. "Fresh." He nodded. "One set, size 10 men's. Same tread pattern as the boot print on the ring." My heartbeat thudded in my ears. Sarah placed a hand on my arm. "And that's not the worst part." I turned to her slowly. "What could possibly be worse?" She exhaled, trembling. "Mark and I both heard it this morning. Up on the second floor, a voice calling your husband's name. Silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that wraps around your throat. The whisper that changed everything. I didn't want to go to the barn. Every instinct in me screamed no. But I also knew running from the truth wouldn't bring him back. So we went, the three of us. The morning air was cold and heavy, like the day knew something we didn't. The barn doors creaked open, and the smell of old hay and damp timber rushed out. Sunlight slipped in through the cracks, cutting thin beams into the dust-filled air. I stared at the ladder leading to the second floor. Every part of me said don't climb, but I put my foot on the first rung anyway. Sarah stayed below. Mark climbed behind me. Halfway up, I heard it. A whisper. My husband's name. So soft, so close, so familiar that my hands nearly slipped off the ladder. I froze. Please tell me you heard that. I whispered. Mark didn't answer at first. Then quietly, I heard it, and it wasn't your imagination. I forced myself to keep climbing. When my head rose above the second floor, I saw it, a corner of the loft where the hay had been pushed aside. A small space cleared, as if someone had been sitting there recently, and lying right in the center of that empty patch of wood. A photograph of me, taken 2 days before my husband disappeared. My breath shattered. Mark stepped beside me, voice barely audible. Someone was waiting for you here. Sarah's voice drifted up from below, shaking. Tell her what else we found. Mark knelt and pointed to the wooden beam beside the photo. Words were carved into it, slow, uneven, like someone carving in the dark. I didn't leave. I covered my mouth with my hand, fighting tears. Mark spoke softly, almost afraid. Ma'am, I don't think your husband walked away 10 years ago. Someone made it look like he did. A cold wind swept through the barn, though the doors were still. And then, right behind me, inches from my ear, a whisper so real it cut through my bones. Don't trust them. I spun around. No one there. Sarah called up in panic. What happened? I swallowed hard. We're not alone up here, I whispered. Chapter 4. The barn that recorded everything. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The whisper still clung to the air around me, cold and sharp, as if whoever said it had been standing right at my back. I tried to tell myself it was fear or imagination or the shifting of old wood, but I knew the tone, the cadence, the way it brushed my ear like someone leaning close. It sounded exactly like my husband. I climbed down the ladder slowly, each rung echoing through the barn, as if warning us that something had changed. When my foot hit the dirt floor, Sarah's face was pale and tight. What did you hear? She asked, voice cracking. But I couldn't answer yet. Not until I steadied myself. Not until I understood. I walked out of the barn into the cold open air, breathing hard. The sky was darkening even though it was barely afternoon. Thick gray clouds rolling across the fields like smoke. Mark followed me, jaw tense. You looked like you saw someone, he said quietly. I stared straight ahead. I think I did, I whispered. The first clue that shouldn't exist. Mark and Sarah exchanged a look, one that wasn't pity or disbelief, but concern. Not for me, for what I might find. Sarah stepped closer. There's something else we discovered this morning, she said. We didn't show you yet because we didn't know how you'd take it. My stomach twisted. What is it? Mark took a slow breath. The barn has a security camera. I blinked. What? The barn hasn't had power for years. Exactly, Mark said. The camera shouldn't work, but it did. Sarah pulled out her phone. Last night, it recorded something. My heartbeat stuttered. Show me. She hesitated, not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know how I'd react. Then she held the screen toward me. The video played. The interior of the barn flickered in black and white. Empty, still, silent. And then a figure stepped into frame. A man, medium build, wearing a dark jacket, face turned away. He walked slowly across the ground floor, stopping in the exact spot where the ring had been found. He crouched, placed something on the ground, then stood and stared up toward the second floor. The hair on my arms lifted. Sarah whispered, "Keep watching." The man began to climb the ladder, slowly, deliberately, as if each rung hurt. When he reached the top, he turned toward the camera for a split second. Not long enough to see his features, just long enough to feel something familiar. My breath caught, and then the man stepped deeper into the shadows of the loft and vanished, not walked away, not climbed down another exit. One moment he was there, the next gone. I felt my voice crack. "That's not possible." Mark nodded grimly. We checked the loft. There's no hole, no doorway, no loose boards. He didn't leave. He just disappeared. Sarah added softly, and the timestamp, it was recorded 10 minutes after I left last night. The world felt suddenly too small, too quiet. "Play it again," I whispered. She did. This time, I watched the man's posture. His limp, his hesitation, his habit of touching his shoulder like it hurt, a habit my husband had after a work injury. My chest tightened. "Pause it," I said. Sarah froze the frame where the man turned slightly toward the camera. His jawline blurred, his cheek shadowed, his height exactly the same. I whispered, "This looks like him." Mark didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. A hidden message. We went back inside the barn, this time with purpose. Mark walked straight to the ladder. The video shows he left something else up there. He said, something more than the ring and the tag. I followed him up again, this time with my heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. Sarah waited below, too afraid to climb. The loft was dim and cold, the wooden planks groaning under our steps. And then Mark spotted it, a small metal object wedged between the boards. He pried it loose. My hands shook when I took it. It was a voice recorder. Old, scratched, covered in dust and hay. The kind my husband used when he worked night shifts at the factory to keep notes for himself. I felt the world tilt. Mark held up his flashlight. There's a recording still on it. I stared at him. "Play it." He pressed the button. The barn filled with static. Then, breathing. Slow, ragged breathing. Then a whisper. "If she finds this, tell her I never left." I was taken. My knees buckled. It was my husband's voice. Mark lunged to steady me. Sarah called from below, panicked. "What is it? What did it say?" I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe. The recording continued. "They made me hide. They're coming back tonight." Static. Then silence. Then another whisper, this one deeper, too close to the microphone. "She'll follow his voice, just like we planned." Mark's eyes widened. That wasn't him. "No," I whispered, my voice barely there. "It wasn't." We stood frozen, the air colder than before. Then the recorder crackled one last time. Midnight, the place where the lights don't reach. The device clicked off. Mark looked at me. "Do you know what that means?" I did, and the thought turned my blood to ice. "Yes," I whispered. "I know exactly where that is." Chapter 5. The footprints behind the barn. The wind had picked up by the time we climbed down from the loft, carrying a thin whistle through the cracks in the barn walls. Sarah rushed to my side the moment my boots hit the ground. "What happened? What did it say?" But before I could answer, Mark lifted a hand. "Not here." He was right. The air inside the barn felt too still, too watchful, like something was listening. We stepped outside into the cold afternoon, snowflakes drifting down in lazy spirals. I didn't feel the cold, though my skin was buzzing with fear. The recorder was still in my hand, warm from my palm, heavy with a truth I didn't know how to carry. Sarah hugged herself, shivering. "You're scaring me." Someone else was in there with him. Someone who knew you'd come. I nodded slowly. That voice, it wasn't human. Sarah stared at me as though waiting for me to take it back. I didn't. The ground that told a different story. Mark gestured toward the back side of the barn. There's something I didn't show you earlier. I found prints this morning, fresh ones. But they weren't yours, Sarah, and they weren't mine. We walked toward the rear wall of the barn, the wind pushing against our backs. Mark stepped ahead of us and pointed down at the snow, and I froze. Footprints. A trail of them. But not a normal trail. They were in a tight, looping path, circling the barn again and again like someone had been pacing in the dark. Each print was deep, as if the person stood still for long moments before shifting their weight. "Whose are they?" Sarah whispered. Mark shook his head. "They don't match any shoe size in this house." I crouched beside the closest print. The edges were sharp, fresh, not more than a few hours old. But the shape, my stomach sank. The sole pattern was the same as the boots my husband used to wear. Not identical, just close enough to hurt. I whispered, "These look almost like his." Mark exhaled slowly. "Almost, but not exactly. Whoever left these, they wanted you to think of him." A chill ran up my spine. "Why?" Before Mark could answer, Sarah suddenly knelt beside another print, this one partially melted, where the snow had rounded off the edges. "Wait," she said, voice thin. "Look at this. Doesn't it seem like he stopped here?" She pointed to the spot where the prints ended abruptly. There were no tracks walking away, no disturbed snow, no sign of movement, just a single, final footprint, as if the person took one last step and vanished. I rubbed my arms hard. "This matches the video," I said. "He disappeared upstairs, and someone disappeared out here." Sarah whispered, "This is wrong. This whole place is wrong." What the neighbors saw. Mark checked his watch. "The storm's getting worse. Let's get inside. There's something Mrs. Alden told me this morning." Mrs. Alden, the elderly woman who lived across the field. The one who'd lived here long enough to know every rumor, every truth, every secret. We headed toward the house, pushing through the wind. When we reached the porch, Mark turned to me. "Last night," he began slowly, "she said she saw a man standing behind your barn around midnight." My throat tightened. "Did she describe him?" He nodded. "Medium height, dark coat, limping." The world tilted. That was him, or someone wanting to be him, or something wearing his memory, like a mask. I gripped the railing to steady myself. What did she see him do? Mark hesitated. She said he wasn't alone. Sarah's eyes widened. With who? Mark swallowed hard. That's the thing. She saw him talking to someone she couldn't quite make out. A shadow, too tall, too thin, standing too close. A cold wave moved through my bones. "What do you mean, too tall?" He held up his hand halfway above his head. She said it was at least a foot taller than him, and she said it never moved its head, just stood there facing him the whole time. Sarah backed away. No, that can't be." But Mark wasn't finished. Then she said the shadow stepped closer, and he disappeared. Just blinked out. Gone. I felt my heartbeat drop into my stomach. A shadow. A tall one. One that got close to my husband, or whoever was pretending to be him. The same shadow from the recording. The same shadow that whispered into the microphone. The same shadow that wanted me to follow it. The message we didn't want to understand. We stepped inside the kitchen, slamming the door against the worsening wind. The house felt small, warm, suffocating. Sarah poured water with shaking hands. Mark sat across from me, elbows on the table. The message on the recorder, he said, "The part about midnight and the place where the lights don't reach. Do you know where that is?" I did. I wished I didn't. There's a ravine I whispered. Behind the property line. My husband always said the shadows there don't move because the light barely reaches the bottom. Sarah swallowed. So that's where we're going. My fingers tightened around the recorder. No, I said softly. That's where they want us to go. Mark leaned forward. But we have to. If he left a message, if he really wants you to find something. I cut him off. It wasn't him. The recorder's final whisper echoed in my memory. She'll follow his voice, just like we planned. They're using his voice, I said, using his memories, using the ring, using everything he left behind. Sarah's voice cracked, to lead you into that ravine. I nodded once, slowly. Mark clenched his jaw. Then we go together. I shook my head. I'm not leading anyone else into this. But Mark reached across the table and grabbed my hand firmly. You're not walking into a trap alone. If something's out there, if something took your husband, then we face it together. I looked at him, at Sarah, at the recorder lying between us like a wound. And I knew what came next. Midnight, at the ravine, the place where the lights don't reach. Chapter 6. The Truth Beneath the Ashes. The fire had died hours ago, but the smell lingered, bitter, chemical, wrong. I stood in the yard with a blanket over my shoulders, staring at the smoking skeleton of the old barn, the place that had held 10 years of secrets, and the remains of my missing husband. The authorities moved around me like shadows, clipboards, cameras, hushed tones. Detectives whispered to each other as they examined the charred foundation where the hidden basement had been discovered. They kept asking me if I wanted to sit down, but I couldn't sit. Not until I understood everything. Not until I heard the truth from the only person still living who knew it. Mary. She sat on the back of the ambulance, wrapped in her own blanket, hands trembling but eyes strangely calm, as if the flames had burned away every lie she'd carried. I approached her slowly. Mary, please, tell me everything. No more pieces. No more hints. I want the whole truth. She swallowed hard, the wind tugging at her silver hair. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. But your husband, he wasn't the man you think he was. My chest tightened. Then who was he? Her eyes lifted, full of something between sorrow and fear. A man running from very dangerous people. I felt my knees soften, but I stayed standing. She continued. He came to me the night before he vanished. He was terrified, shaking. He said they'd found him, that they knew he'd tried to leave. He begged me to hide him for just a little while until he figured out what to do. A cold breeze swept through the yard, as if the world itself leaned closer to listen. Who found him? I asked. Mary looked at the detectives, then back at me. I don't know their names, but he owed them money, a lot of money, and he said they'd promised to make an example of him. She paused, clutching the edge of the blanket. I thought the barn basement would be safe. No one knew about it, except me. My stomach twisted. You put him down there? She nodded slowly. We planned to move him the next day, but by morning he was gone. Her voice cracked. I thought he ran, that he panicked and left during the night. But he didn't leave, I said, trembling. Mary closed her eyes. No, someone found him first. A sharp ringing filled my ears. I could barely breathe. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Because I didn't know, she whispered. Not for sure. And I couldn't live with the thought that I'd helped bury the truth. The detective approached us. We recovered the box, he said gently, and the items inside confirm this was more than a disappearance. The box, the same old metal box Mary had dug up days ago, the one she claimed she found by accident. What was in it? I asked. He hesitated, then handed me a sealed evidence bag. Inside was my husband's wallet, a small flash drive, a folded letter burned at the edges, And the ring, the one that started all of this. My hands shook as I opened the letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. My husband's. If you're reading this, it means they finally got to me. I'm sorry for everything, for the danger I brought, for the lies I told to keep you safe. You deserved a better man than the one I became. If you want the truth, it's on the drive. Please don't look for me. I love you. I always will. My legs gave out. The world blurred. Someone caught me, Mary's hands on my shoulders. Let it out, she whispered. You've carried this alone for too long. I sobbed into my hands, years of questions crashing over me. The detective cleared his throat gently. There's more, he said. We reviewed the drive. I looked up, face wet, heart hammering. It holds evidence that your husband had been contacted multiple times by the people he owed. Threatening messages, warnings. He was trying to gather proof to negotiate protection. So he was trying to save himself. I asked, and you? The detective said quietly. Mary squeezed my hand. He loved you, she whispered. Even on that last night, you were all he talked about. I wiped my face, staring at the horizon as the first pale morning light crept over the fields. 10 years. 10 years of wondering if he abandoned me. 10 years of imagining him starting a new life somewhere far away. 10 years of hating him, missing him, doubting him. Now I knew the truth. He never left me. He was taken and buried only a few steps from where I slept all these years. The detective placed a warm hand on my shoulder. We'll keep the investigation open. There's still more to uncover, but at least now you have your answers. I nodded slowly, my throat tight. Answers, not peace, not closure, but truth. At last, as the sun rose behind the ruins of the barn, I whispered to the wind, goodbye. A single ring of smoke drifted upward from the ashes, as if the barn itself exhaled one last secret. If you think this story ended in the ashes of that barn, you're wrong. Because when I plugged in the flash drive that night, I found something I was never meant to see. A list of names, dates, and one chilling sentence. The next one disappears on December 14th. And the last name on the list, mine. Subscribe for the next story before it happens.